You might be wondering, well, quills. How many quills does a porcupine have? It can have up to 30,000 quills per porcupine. And what's even more amazing than that is that that's an average, which means somebody counted the porcupine quills, not just one, but more than one porcupine. And you may be thinking, well, 30,000 quills, that's a lot of quills. Is that all they get for their whole life? Or if they lose some, do they regrow them? They do in fact regrow their quills. In an encounter, they might lose upwards of 100 quills, and it only takes a few short weeks, about 3 weeks, for them to regrow those quills, which is a good thing because that is their main defense. And so, since we've been talking about quills, if I could have 3 volunteers, I want to demonstrate a little bit better for everybody to see how the quilt works. So I need 3 volunteers. I promise I'm not going to stab you with a quill. Come on up. I need one more. Alright, Sam. So, I'm going to have 2 potential victims. This is going to be your skin. You can hold on to one end and Sam can hold on to the other end. And try to make it so the audience can see. And this is a quill that I have created. And I have put on there the barbs, which are outlined in red. And I'm not going to have you be a porcupine, I'm going to just have you show what happens when a quill embeds into the skin. So what you're going to do is the porcupine will swing its tail just hard enough to get the quill to embed and get some of the barbs attached into the skin. So just put the quill in part way, not all the way through. So, this being the skin, now if you pull back a little bit, it stays embedded in there. So that's how the quill works. Now, what happens after it's embedded is the quill causes irritation, and so the muscle contracts and relaxes in the victim, which causes the quill to embed in further. So that is how the quill works. Thank you, volunteers. You may be seated. Thank you. Yes, we need a pliers now. And speaking of food, how are the snacks?
Good.
Well, I chose them specifically because they are salty. And if you had to categorize yourself by raising hands, are you a salty snacker or a sweet snacker? Salty? I am too. And the porcupine is as well. Now, we choose salt to season things. Porcupines choose it because of a major change in their diet throughout the year, and they need a mineral replacement. But humans use salt to season things like popcorn and French fries, potato chips, crackers, and peanuts. Porcupines will eat salt mostly in the wintertime because of a lack of potassium in their diet. They, throughout summertime, have a lot of food abundant to them. They will eat twigs and buds and flowers and leaves and roots, which all are loaded with potassium for them, but during the wintertime they don't have this food available, so they have to replace that potassium in some way. They eat evergreen needles in the winter mostly, and the cambrium, which is that layer below the outer bark on a tree. Now that I've covered quite a few things on porcupines, how are you all feeling about your knowledge on porcupines? Pretty good? Well, that's good, because this is Jim. So now you choose the next one.
We'll go, how about porcupines? Let's go for the 500 right away.
Because porcupines are mostly active during dusk and dawn, they are Sam?
Crepuscular.
Crepuscular is correct. 500 points by this team.
All about porcupines.
50? That was 50. Good job. fishers are really fast-moving animals, and so what they do is they run around the porcupine, and they're able to avoid the back end of the porcupine, and they'll do that to tire it out, and then they'll go for the face and just keep going at the face until the porcupine becomes too weak, and then they flip it over and they eat it, because porcupines don't have anything underneath them, so.
Are there porcupines in Sweet Creek?
They have actually documented porcupines being here. I had Carly looked into it for me. The last time we heard about it was in 1980, but I'm sure that there are
I saw one
porcupines.
2 years ago.
I've seen one, the last time I saw one, I actually got to see a porcupine, because they stay on the ground when mom's up in the tree. It was in Tomahawk, so it was only about an hour away from here, but. Any other questions? Well, thank you
Oh,
for
I have a
coming.
question. So,
Sure.
is there any toxin at all that comes out of the quills? A lot of times when things sting.
Well,
Do
they
you know?
actually, I didn't read anything about toxins on the quills, but porcupines, one of the #1 natural causes of death of the porcupine is falling out of a tree. And that's because they like to go out to the farthest point and get the little tasty buds off the tree. Well, they're heavy animals, they break the limb and fall. And what happens is they'll embed their own quills into themselves. And what's cool is they have looked into it, they have an antiseptic on their quills for themselves. And so it doesn't hurt them as bad as it hurts other animals. But I haven't heard anything about toxins, so.
Cool.